Welcome to another episode of The Guy Code. I am Rena Osore. Now, on this episode, we will be having a Kenyan husbands discussion. Now, on this episode, we're going to be covering three aspects. First, through the statistics that are available to us through the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, we're going to be covering what has been happening as far as marriage and husbands in the country, what is happening right now, and what we should expect going forward for all the men who are aware of female nature and are already in long-term relationships, or the men who are red pill aware of and aware of female nature but still are not yet in long-term relationships and are considering marrying and having a wife or wives and families of their own. Now, let's get right into it, guys. Start from the beginning, analyzing the current state of reality when it comes to husbands. Now, so far, statistics show that there are more female-led households in the rural areas than urban areas. Now, what does this signify? We all know, guys, that in this country, it is believed in order to have a better quality of life, guys who grew up and born in the countryside usually come to the urban areas and the cities for economic reasons, to improve the quality of life, their livelihood, and a shelter living for themselves. Now, these statistics shows that the reason why there are more female-led households in the rural areas than urban areas is because I believe the husbands move to the urban areas. Maybe they get a government job or they are a casual worker. They move to the urban areas more often alone, since they've already built their homestead and boomers back at home. They leave their wife and kids there, and they come to the urban areas in order to get a living, and they send it back home. So the statistics show that this is still present with us as we speak. I think also believing how governments can, and even other organizations can, really tend to have their employees move from one location to another in order to etch out a living. So when this happens, women are usually left to lead the households back at home in their boomers, right? So we are getting the picture of this is still what we're doing. And some of you listeners maybe already know someone who is doing this currently, or you are doing it yourself. Now, another thing we need to factor in is that the fact that the man is able to marry is a good thing. The fact that a man is able to find a wife right now is a good thing, because nationally, according to these statistics I have sourced from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, there's this document called the Women and Men 2021. You can download it for yourself and see these statistics and just go through it as we get to discuss it together right now. So, nationally, there are more men who have never been married compared to women. If you're getting into numbers, statistically proven, around 38% of women nationally never married compared to 47% of men. Now, why is this so? I think the reason why is, in this society, you understand that polygamy is still quite a big thing. Even though some of us might be living in the urban areas, polygamy is still quite prevalent in the outskirts of the other regions in this country. So what happens then is that the higher value male gets his pick of women, and sometimes he doesn't have to choose, so he takes as many as he wants. Also, including that there's a significant Muslim or Islamic population in this country. They also have the values of polygamy, and I believe that this also helps, push the agenda of a man of means can get his pick of the litter, So the man who is not able to get to speak of the later. Sometimes he just has to stay alone, you know. And this is where the hypergamy and polygamy comes together to brings out this situation we are seeing through this statistic. Now, also we understand, of course, that, you know, polygamy and hypergamy, also they also want to reproduce the strongest gene. However, I honestly believe that the fact that there are more men who have never married in this country does not mean that these men do not procreate or their seed does not extend to the next generation. I think the fact that there are several single mothers, I think these men still find a way to get their seed to the next generation. And also, we have considered the statistics on paternity fraud in this country, which is quite concerning, but it is a fact we have to deal with. Moving on, recently there's a rise in the immigrant population, which is individuals going abroad, and many of them are young women. You know, these are the individuals who maybe they have gone through their studies and they've received a scholarship because they are high performers as far as academics, or even some as sports, but mostly academia, and they get opportunities to go abroad, some also through family connections, friends, and all that stuff. And according to the statistics, we are seeing that most of these individuals going abroad are young women. Statistically, around 58% of people between the ages of 15 to 25 going abroad are women. 58%, compared to 42% of men. So what does this mean? This means that also we can see there solipsism and hypergamy, in that women want to go to the regions and locations where they believe that there are more winners and they can get better quality of life for themselves and find individuals, which is men, who will provide a higher quality of life that they need. You know, we all know that the quote unquote wababa culture and the sugar daddy culture, and even the, you know, the white men, the expatriates, the delegates, all whatever you call them, these Europeans, when they come, and the ladies who want to have a, you know, a better quality of life for themselves really want to go to these countries, or will want to consider to go to these countries, because these men living in these countries, since they have a higher, you know, quality of life, that the political structure in those countries are able to accord to them, they want to be part of these countries. They say, oh, you know, I met a German and I want to go with him to Germany so that he can treat me to this, and this. And that's why you see most of these ladies, have you realized, guys, most of these ladies who tend to go abroad, especially when they have already created their relationship with any of these Western men, they always want to document their experience through a YouTube channel, a TikTok channel, whatever it is. And we see the same things, that they're going to malls, they're going to boats and all that stuff. And I've always wondered that I've never seen any of these ladies really start out a career for themselves. Most of them just have a YouTube channel, a TikTok channel, where they just share, they document their stories, and you're like, since you reached there, your full-time job is a content creator. Nothing wrong with that, but this is an observation we have seen. And guys, any of you who has been able to observe the same, you can definitely give your feedback on this. So where does this leave us, guys? Right? You know, where this leaves us is when we see that most of the women, if most of the young women within marriage age would want to relocate out of this country within a drop of a hat, men being less, because I think men, we tend to really have a sense of connection to where we are. Of course, both the ones of us who actually leave, make sure we come back and build, the places we grew up and our communities. But the fact is that most men are the kind to say, let me stay in this country and try and make the system work, try and straight line the system so that I can also be able to win in this environment that I have been able to create. And also for my children, that, where you want to raise your children in a community and in a group of people that you understand and know their values, instead of in the West where the culture is changing every other day and you're not sure as a man, as a father, that the values and the principles you will instill in your child will still stand true to them even as they receive all this influence, external influence that will be bombarded to them through social media, through the people that they will meet, So I think that's the reason why most of us men would really consider staying here and try and making this environment work for those of us who really want to start families and want to raise our children in an environment that is similar to how we grew up, among people that we share our values with, our principles with, and that you can be safe to say that this individual will grow up to be the kind of man or, lady that you will be proud to say that you participated in their upbringing. And as far as the immigrant population, the young women wanting to leave this country, I want to bring forward a situation whereby maybe some of these ladies within this age bracket who are leaving the country, some of them could be married because according to statistics, the average age of marriage for ladies so far, that's across the years, of course it has increased before. I think in the 1980s, 1989, it was around 21. Then 2000 and 1999, it was around, I think, 23. It's always been within the early 20s, even right now, although it is changing. Definitely depends where you're living. If it's in the city, it's definitely way higher. But on an average, in a median age, it would be around 23, 24 right now, where most women get to be wives. And we just consider, guys, consider a situation whereby you have just found your bride, you have married her, and now she gets an opportunity of a lifetime to leave the country and pursue her job. Where does this leave you? Where does this leave you? Now, this is a case scenario where we should really take into consideration what is the best way to handle such a situation whereby you are just at the beginning of starting your own family and your lives together, and she gets an opportunity of a lifetime to leave the country and start her own life. Of course, some of these packages might include that you can relocate with her. However, guys who are listening, in the manosphere, we always talk about self-improvement, building yourself. And sometimes you've already spent years building a foundation as far as building your purpose within this locale of the country. You have businesses here, you have a career here, you have customers here, you've built a system whereby you are self-sufficient and you can stand on your own feet here. So thinking about or even considering relocating, and starting from scratch somewhere else, it really brings about the thoughts of this can be quite inconvenient for you. So what should you do, right? So you might be asking what is the real probability of this happening? Well, currently, even though definitely we as men have a higher intake into universities, as far as the ones who are have already gone through university, as far as the country, Kenyan men are well more educated compared to the women on average, right? On average, the intake of men is higher. Graduation statistics also higher, that men graduate more than the ladies, right? So, and this can be due to different factors. Some that we are trying to deal with. Maybe more men definitely are graduating because there are some ladies who have had to drop out due to things like teenage pregnancies. Some of these things that we're still trying to address as a community and a society at large. So the fact that these things happen, like teenage pregnancies, whereby she might not be as well educated as you are, because she might have to drop out, and maybe her family doesn't come from a very well-off family, so they were not really able to take care of her like that. You will definitely have a leverage in that situation. Maybe not really worry about her moving out of the country in that situation for some time, right? So the probability is not very high as we speak, but it is coming, whereby I think many women, once they are well educated, realize that most of these multinationals tend to employ more women. Most of these international organizations, since more women are getting into STEM, these high-paying careers, I've noticed that the multinationals tend to really like to employ the women for, of course, diversity and equality and all these things that they really like to preach and push for, right? So, guys, let's just put that in mind. So as far as the Kenyan husband's discussion, on this discussion, what should we need to know as far as, for those of us who are yet to get into long-term relationships, those of us who are maybe already in long-term relationships, what are the kind of points that you need to address to really identify and see, is your wife the kind of lady that you want? The kind of lady that I believe, of course, if you're getting into this marriage, you want it to last forever and have a strong lineage going forward. What are the things you need to consider? Now, number one, your frame. Of course, you always say this every other time, build a strong frame, because, guys, with how the Kenyan labor force is going, or rather, how the corporate space in Kenya is as far as the workforce, we are noticing that women are becoming more and more high earners, right? So you can expect, you should not brush this off, you can expect that they could reach a time whereby your wife will earn more than you do. What do? There are some men, of course, who have not been able to handle this kind of quote-unquote pressure, and unfortunately they get resort to violence, because men are supposed to be the protectors and the providers. When you can't provide, you become the predator, because now you want to show that you need to protect her against yourself. I think that's what most of these men think in the bottom of their hearts when they get violent, right? Because she might be looking down on me. She's thinking I'm less than. But so yeah, just make sure your frame is strong. You have being able to work on your 5Ms, as Amerix says all the time. And this will put you in a position to be a leader, even when, times happen and things happen like COVID. Maybe her job might still be intact, your job is affected, your business is affected. And for a season of time, she brings in more income, right? If your frame is strong, she will still revere you as the leader, right? If she does not, then that is a situation whereby it's not really about the circumstance that you're in, but it's about the character of this lady, right? Because if she starts treating you different because she is now receiving more income than you for that season, and the disrespects begin, you can be sure that this is something that was already within her for a long time. It has just come out in this particular circumstance because maybe it has been more convenient and it has brought it out. So guys, make sure you have a strong frame. And if you have a strong frame, even when for a season of time, I'm saying very particularly for a season of time, she's out earning you, then she can still be able to revere you as her partner and her leader in the relationship and, of course, in the household. That's number one, maintain your frame. Number two, evaluate and identify what and who influences how. Now, this is a point that is very close to my heart. Guys, during this courtship process, make sure you listen. You listen and you observe, right? Because in this stage when, the attraction is high, she just likes your company, she's sharing a lot, she wants to connect, she wants your presence, she will be sharing a lot and doing a lot, and you just pick up on small things that she shares that she has done or is doing, or how she treats other people, right? And where these habits and traits came from, right? Maybe she might drop, somewhere in a conversation that she looks up to so and such a person, or she's very close to such and such a relative. Guys, you need to identify and evaluate, okay, is this relative or individual, are they in a marriage, in a healthy marriage? Number one, what are their views on marriage and what are their views on men, right? Assuming that the person she's very close to is a fellow woman. If it's a fellow man, guys, we have addressed it in other episodes, and you should definitely consider them as far as orbiters. But the ladies who influence her, the ladies who call her out for brunch and cocktails and all that stuff, what kind of circle is that? What kind of circle is that? What are their attitudes towards marriage? And ladies are chatty and they'll go for these events and function and brunch and whatever, and they'll come back and just want to share. Oh, so and so said this, so and so said this. And as you're listening, you're just getting to understand the attitudes of her inner circle when it comes to these lifelong commitments and how they view them and how they've experienced them themselves. So if she's influenced by individuals who just want to be independent women, who don't want any men, or these celebrities who are like Real Housewives of Nairobi, or Real Housewives or whatever, or these influencers and socialites who just post their pictures and thirst traps on social media, you can definitely rightly assume that she will pick up on these character traits. Because if she really looks up to and reveres and respects these cast members in Real Housewives of whatever, and in the cast of such shows, you wonder, where are the real housewives? What does it mean to be a real housewife? And you see the individuals in this program, they are referring to themselves as boss babes, boss bitches. And I'm wondering, the definition of this word is totally the opposite of what this program is portraying. So, are we changing language through the art that we are allowing on our screens and allowing them to influence us? So, guys, really evaluate and identify who is really influencing her. Who is her close circle? Who does she look up to? You know, maybe even a musician, some songs that she really likes. What are the messages that are portrayed? Because, of course, okay, you can say, yeah, it's just a song, it's nothing up. But subconsciously, if it's something that you really, really like, there's an aspect of that message that sticks with you. Let's be honest, you know? Like guys who love reggae, they listen to the beat. Of course, the rhythm and the melody of the song and the instruments it's a right symphony, but also the message that is being passed across, they get to resonate with it. So if it's a lady who likes just like Cardi B, oh, it's just music. Is it really? Is it really? Guys, just be alert. Just be alert. That's number 2. Number 3, evaluate her past, her upbringing, and if she had a father figure in her life. Now, this is something we have definitely come through several times. We definitely know how important it is to have a father figure in her upbringing and the kind of setup she grew up in as far as environment of how she saw how to deal with men within marriage, within friendships, within, professionally, and how that was modeled in front of her growing up. And you can be sure these things that were modeled before her as she was growing up, she will want to emulate them. For more on this point, you can definitely go and explore other episodes we have talked about marriage. In fact, even the previous episode of Marriage in Kenya, we definitely go deeper on this particular point. Number 4, get to know her life plans and priorities. Guys, on this case scenario we have considered earlier in this episode, as far as the lady going abroad to further her career, her studies, whatever, you definitely want to know, is this an idea that even as she's maybe still in the country, is this an idea she has played around with? Is this an idea she has tried to pursue, or maybe tried to get a green card or a work permit for a particular country? Maybe it hasn't worked out so far, but she is expecting to try again, or maybe she is expecting to relocate. Maybe a family member has called her over there to help her improve her career and further her career. You need to understand, okay, what are your life goals? What are your priorities? Are you looking into relocating? Are you looking into furthering yourself? And when this happens, what do you think you would do to handle the situation? In a situation whereby you have already starting to build a family right here, and how have you seen other people around you handle this situation? Maybe family members, of course. Most of us have a family member or two living abroad. You saw how they dealt with the relocation process. Did they stay long distance for a while, then the husband relocated, or did they just find a way to move the whole family once, or did she just find a way to work for that particular company locally and still stay here? So these are the kind of things that you definitely need to understand before you get into this lifelong relationship, because guys, we have seen, and definitely it has been discussed even on our social media platforms like Twitter, whereby there are men who are lonely in their retirement years. Can you imagine that? You're around 50, 60, you've already built for yourself. You're retired. You're out of the workforce. You just want to spend your sunset years with your wife, and occasionally your grandchildren come through. You have a nice time, but this is a time whereby there are some men who their wives just decide, you know what, I want to go abroad with my children. Maybe some of them have settled abroad and just stay with them, and the man is left with his boma alone. That shouldn't be us, guys. That shouldn't be us. That's a very vulnerable time to be lonely, if we're going to be very honest with ourselves. None of us wants to work and be on our purpose for decades just to spend, the last years of our life, assumingly, alone, And we want to share these things that we have worked with, the lineage and the people we look to pass them on to. Now, these are just a couple of points I wanted to share with you guys on this husbands discussion. Definitely we need to explore other areas of this topic. Nonetheless, I hope I've given you something to consider and think about as far as where we have come from, whereby for the most part, the lady was left back in the boma as the man went to the urban areas to work for himself, and send money back home. Right now, we're seeing a situation whereby two individuals, the wife and the husband, are working, and the income, the breadwinner of the family, the prime breadwinner is a status, or is a position that is beginning to swing like a pendulum. Sometimes the man is earning more, sometimes the woman is earning more, and it swings. How do we handle that? We have said that you really need to maintain frame. And moving forward, going into the future, what should we expect? We should expect there are more women who will be well educated, who will want to earn a lot, and who will be ambitious about their career. So how do we handle this going forward for these women who will be very well learned, taken their studies very seriously, excelled, become very good professionals, and want to further their career even in the institution of marriage, and they identify themselves as professionals first, then wives later? How do we handle these situations? We need to identify them beforehand so that we're not caught flat-footed later on in our sunset years saying, hey man, I've worked so hard and I'm in this boma alone as a 65-year-old just waiting for death. That's a very sad situation. It's just a discussion I wanted us to have, guys, on this subject. We can definitely explore other aspects of this same topic. I really value your feedback through the new Telegram and channel and group, which is Guy Code Kenya. It's a public channel, and there's also a private group that you can access through that channel. Of course, as usual, my Twitter is Guy Code Kenya, and until next time, we shall talk soon. Bye.
Guy Code with Rena Osware.